Good evening, Papua New Guinea, and welcome to a brand new episode of Business PNG. Tonight on the show, I sat down with President of ExxonMobil Global Services Company, Linda Ducharme, as she discussed the practicality of MSMEs in the economy. Mr. Ducharme was in Port Moresby recently for the APEC MSME and Innovation Summit, a prelude to the CEO Summit in November. Tonight on the show, we have Linda Ducharme, the president of ExxonMobil Global Services Company. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you liking it so far?
I love it. This is my first trip to Papua New Guinea.
Great, yeah.
And I've always wanted to come here because I work for ExxonMobil, and in ExxonMobil, we've all heard about the PNG LNG plant. We've heard about the challenges to actually construct an LNG plant in this country. We've also heard about the successes of being able to employ 82% Papua New Guineans at our asset. And to see it for myself was just fantastic.
Because I understand you went out to the plant site.
Yeah, I went out to the plant site. I got to tour the plant. I got to go all the way out to the loading jetty and see an LNG ship being loaded. It was a great experience, and I have to say we've got some fantastic local staff there.
Briefly introduce yourself for the PNG audiences and tell us a little bit about why you're in Port Moresby.
Well, so in addition to seeing the lovely plant, I went to speak at the APEC meeting that was for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, specifically on digital and innovation. So I run the Global Services Company, which includes for ExxonMobil all of our IT, all of our procurement, and all of our environmental services. So it was kind of a neat opportunity to talk to small businesses about how they can use digital to grow their businesses. And really do it from the perspective of, you know, today's digital tools are pretty democratized. The kind of things that we use in our big corporation are a lot of the same things that small businesses can use. And so it was a great sharing.
Yeah, I like that. We can use that as a segue, you know, with big businesses and small businesses. How do you think small businesses basically, you know, in today's economy, especially Papua New Guinea's economy, a developing economy, how can SMEs, you know, help this economy?
Well, they're engines of growth to this economy. You know, one of the statistics about the APEC region is that across the APEC region, SMEs employ 50% of the workforce, and they're 97% of all businesses. And so they're huge engines of growth for an economy. And we had a great discussion about the partnership between large companies like ours and small businesses and really successfully growing together as we move forward.
Right. So large companies like ExxonMobil, how do you cooperate or work with SMEs, especially in Papua New Guinea?
Well, you know, ExxonMobil's in the oil and gas business, which is a really long-term business. So when we go into a new country, when we discover new resources as we did here in Papua New Guinea, we've got to have the vision that we're going to be here for a long time. And if we're going to be here for a long time, we've got to create enduring partnerships. And so we get on the ground really early because we understand that we can't bring in a bunch of foreign companies to do this. We need to develop the capabilities in the country that we're coming into to be able to operate our plants, provide our services. So we start really early trying to develop that capability and cultivate that. In fact, you know, we started with the place we are today, which is the IBBM Enterprise Center, and helping businesses sign up and understand what does it take to be a supplier of ExxonMobil, and then help to train them and grow their capabilities so that when we got on the ground here, we had service providers ready who were able to partner with us and help us provide services to help us build the plant.
Right. So you're here for APEC, and a priority of the Papua New Guinean government is technology and harnessing the power of technology. Tell us a little bit about how SMEs can use technology.
Well, you know, technology's changing everything. You've got a phone in your lap, you know, and none of us are ever away from it anymore. It changes how we do business. It changes how we manage and store data. It changes how we communicate with each other. And I think the important thing for small businesses to realize is to not be intimidated by that. You don't have to create some breakthrough technology in order to have your business benefit from technology. There are plenty of technologies out there that all you need to do is take them and apply them, and you can help grow your business. So I spent a lot of time talking about some of the things that ExxonMobil does with technology and how those could actually apply to small businesses. So I talked about the fact that, we use smartphone apps. We have a smartphone app that you can pay for petrol with. We have a smartphone app that we're testing so that when you want petrol, you tell the app where your car is parked, and then a delivery truck comes and brings the petrol to you. It's a new idea, but it's using an app that any small business can create an app and create a different way of interacting with their customers.
I'd like your thoughts on, in Papua New Guinea, it's a developing country. Our technology sector isn't, up to the standards of, say, America or Australia. So tell us how SMEs, small businesses in the country, can, because that is a major impediment for us. How can we get over that hurdle, especially with technology rates? I'm not sure if you know, in our country is really expensive data, calls, So how can we basically come across that impediment and face it?
Well, it is a huge impediment. It's one of the first things I heard. It was one of the big things we talked about in the conference yesterday. But I was also very encouraged to hear the government ministers recognize the problem. There are big plans in place to pull more fiber away from Australia to here to increase bandwidth, and opportunities to build a fiber ring around the country, again, to increase connectivity. Because it was clear to me that everybody understands that we need the infrastructure. We need the bandwidth. We also need the training. But I was also really encouraged. This morning I had breakfast with a group of the ICT cluster. So it's a group of local technology experts who all work together to support and really nurture entrepreneurial tech businesses. And that ecosystem is like ecosystems I've seen elsewhere in the world. It's just smaller, but you've got the seeds. You've got the seeds. We just need them to grow, and they need the bandwidth to grow. They need they need continued support and nurturing. But I'm pretty encouraged that you're gonna catch up and blow by a lot of other economies. There's a lot of interest here.
Great. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I just wanted to, I've really enjoyed being here in Papua New Guinea. I flew halfway around the world to come here because I'm from the United States. And normally at the end of a trip, when I've flown halfway around the world, I'm really tired. I was just thinking this morning that I'm actually pretty invigorated. This country has so much energy. There is so much passion. There are so many creative ideas, and there's so much opportunity. It's just a really good, a really good combination. So I'm looking forward and coming back in a couple of years and seeing how you've continued on the journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda, for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Ian Jarari in Manila, and you're watching Business PNG. The two-day summit brought together participants from the region's public and private sector, including MSME policymakers from the APEC region and leaders from regional and global organizations with strong MSME development programs. High-level discussions included advancements in technology and further participation of MSMEs in regional economies, harnessing said advancements.
We are at a point where there will be far more opportunities available to us, especially in the digital economy space, for the fact that we have this sea cable being connected up from Australia up to Papua New Guinea. Now, I want to say that I am thankful for the participation of the address by the Honorable Minister for Communications yesterday, who was responsible for this, because we really need to look at fiscal policies, especially surrounding IT. We have got to make it very conducive so that our Papua New Guineans and those who are participating in MSMEs and SMEs are able to grow, and that the cost of IT does not become an impediment to their business activities. And that, and as I've said earlier, We must create those opportunities. Our fiscal policies must be conducive for growth. I remember some 25 years ago in the mining industry, our fiscal policy was such that the regime was such that we were not able to compete with other countries like Kazakhstan, the other former Soviet Union countries, especially in terms of attracting investors to come to invest in exploration and mining in Papua New Guinea. And that the government put together a team headed by Dr. Graham Hancock from the University of Technology. And they basically were able to address that and pushes Papua New Guinea up to the top 5. And as a consequence to that, I remember we had an influx of people coming in to invest. Likewise, for us to see the growth of SMEs and MSMEs, we have got to have enablers that's going to be conducive for SMEs and MSMEs to flourish in this country. Things like access to finance. Also, the other enablers like clean water and power. These are things that will make business grow. We, at this point in time now, it looks exciting for Papua New Guinea, simply for the fact that we will, after we are able to amend the Oil and Gas Act for local content, it will complement a lot of the things we want to do here in Papua New Guinea. So we will have the availability of a lot of power.
Recommendations will consequently be provided to APEC leaders.
Our role in government is to provide a more conducive environment. We are going to do that by providing essential infrastructure, reforms to legislation, and bringing new structures to support the growth of this sector in a very, very important way. So we look forward to the contributions of this meeting and your recommendations that will be coming to government, and I can assure you we will take those recommendations very seriously.
The summit is part of the greater APEC SME Week.
I'm Linda Ducharme in Lorengau, and you're watching Business PNG. Officials from the APEC member economies are breaking new ground in the support for small business development in the Asia-Pacific, seeking to ensure balanced trade growth and job creations as disruptions across the regional landscape intensify. Measures in APEC to help small and micro enterprises accounting for 90% of all firms in the region capitalize on changing technologies and consumption habits and mitigate against escalating market risks were advanced by officials during policy consultations over the past week in Port Moresby.
This year we will start some of our most significant investment in the ICT space by investing in an undersea submarine cable with the help of our Australian friends from Sydney to Port Moresby, and the PNG government is also going to start the link between Port Moresby and Butung, which will cover the rest of our country and make internet more accessible to the rest of our country, and especially to our business sector, both in the formal and informal space. We are talking to our regulator to try and create more competition in the mobile space by looking at co-siting agreements and a law that will allow new mobile carriers to come into the country. And I'm happy the head of our regulator is here, Mr. Charles Ponaha. It's your job. We've been asking. We need legislation now to allow co-siting by new companies who want to come into the mobile space to be co-sited on infrastructure that's currently being provided by both Digicel and Telecom. As far as the government is concerned, these countries have already recovered the investments in this sector, and there is no reason why we shouldn't bring through legislation which our government is keen on doing. And I'd like to encourage the regulator, NICTA, to get your act together and bring the legislation through. Our government wants to create more competition in this space and reduce the cost of internet.
Officials are focused on promoting business development in emerging sectors.
Examples include APEC project work initiated in Thailand to boost awareness of eco-tourism opportunities within local communities, capacity building guidance, and business-friendly environments cultivated via financial and non-financial incentives. Renewable energy, green building, food production, and garment and textiles are sectors that are also being targeted under the initiative.
Currently, 90% of our formal business economy is in the hands of our foreign friends, and that's not bad. We will continue to encourage more foreign investment, but our government is desirous that more Papua New Guineans need to take up businesses and grow small business into much, much bigger businesses. So we are bringing legislation through now to provide more incubation space for Papua New Guineans. We are going to support Papua New Guineans to grow. We are looking at local content policy and looking at ways on how we could support more PNG companies and individuals benefit from the wealth of our great country.
Complementary measures being taken forward by APEC officials aim to better position entrepreneurs and small firms to innovate, with emphasis on enhancing IT adoption, online business model mentoring, investor engagement, and access to digital financing channels.
It is important to recognize the enormous diversity of small businesses and their objectives, challenges and drivers of activity. It is difficult for those in policy positions to fully grasp this complexity.
Officials are spurring small businesses to seek foreign markets through efforts to help them utilize free trade agreements, adopt codes of business ethics in the high-growth healthcare and construction industries, and uphold their operations and supply chains during emergencies like earthquake and extreme weather due to climate change.
And that's all we have for this episode of Business PNG. For more information, or if you'd simply like to view this episode again, visit MTV online at the URL at the bottom of your screen. Or to simply join the conversation, like our page on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Business PNG. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Linda Ducharme. This was Business PNG.